Hello once again, folks. This is another awesome episode of Customizing the Clone Wars. I am your host, as always, Peak Obi-Wan from Peak Obi-Wan Custom Creations. Along with me, I have my co-host. His name is Darth Daddy from the Customs for the Kid blog spot. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Sorry that we didn't do our regularly scheduled program last week. We had some scheduling conflicts, but you're still going to get an
Yep.
episode out of us.
We are back, right? Yeah.
Yep.
We usually do it. It's like a weekly show. This is episode 36, and the episode we're talking about tonight is called ARC Troopers. The original air date for this was September 17th, 2010. I can't believe we're still in 2010. It seems like we've been in 2010 forever.
Yeah. It's strange to think that the show's been off the air for as long as it has been for now. That's what's strange for me, because it's really been off the air for a while now.
Right. 2013 or 2014? I believe it was 2013, right?
Was that the one we got the last episodes on Netflix?
I think so.
Yeah.
Boy, I don't know. But what we do on our show, if you haven't seen it, we talk about the Clone Wars, and we give our perspective, and we go through episode by episode. Currently, we are in season 3, and that's called Secrets Revealed. And while we do that, we talk about custom toys. This is basically a custom toy show, right? We give our inputs, and we show some of the figures we would like to have, some of the things we would have hoped to have had, right?
Yeah, very much so. I think that, like, watching the Clone Wars, seeing all the cool characters, seeing the cool stories that went along with these characters, it just made me want to have something I could hold in my hand and recreate some of those stories. And yeah, we're gonna talk about it here and hopefully give you guys some ideas of the way to do things at home.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, so let's get started, shall we? I'm going to read from the episode guide I normally read from. This is a DK book, really awesome. It says, Anakin and Obi-Wan lead the Republic forces defending the planet of Kamino, home of the cloning facilities. General Grievous's mission is to destroy as many clones as he can and halt the production of new ones, while Asajj Ventress's aims to steal the original clone DNA sample of Jango Fett. Yes, indeed. So that is the synopsis for the episode. And I feel like this was the first time we saw a massive war, like a really big, all-out clone troopers against the Separatists, don't you think?
Because it was taking place not only out in space, but there was an underwater battle. There was a battle inside of Kamino itself. I mean, there was multiple fronts in this one.
For sure. I think they even said they weren't sure how they were even going to do this. You know what I'm saying? They were like uncertain if they could even pull it off, when they started working on the episode. You know what I'm saying?
What I thought was cool about the episode, if you watch the dialogue that takes place between Grievous and Asajj Ventress, that's the first time they are ever meeting each other and working together.
Yeah,
because at one point Grievous said, "Nice to meet you," or so that was their first encounter. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, he always called her assassin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fitting for an episode that's actually coming up called Assassin.
Yeah. That's very soon.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get into this, shall we? It says, what does the fortune cookie say? It's fighting a war tests a soldier's skills. Defending his home tests a soldier's heart. What do you think about that?
I think it definitely connects to 99. I like that he got to prove himself as a soldier. I like that it wasn't skill that really made the difference in that. It was the size of his heart, and proved that he was just as worthy a soldier as any of them, and he was just as willing to put his life on the line for the cause. And I think out of episodes, this one had probably the most heart out of all of them. Personally, I think.
Yeah, it sure did. I mean, right in the very beginning, we see, and that's not what's pictured here. We see Rex and Cody talking and saying, if they are going to come to our house, they're going to come to our home. We're going to give them the fight of their life, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this image I'm showing, one of the reasons I wanted to show it was, I'm glad that they moved this this episode. This was not the episode we had last week was called Clone Cadets, or 2 weeks ago, and it's funny when you look at this image. It's just the opposite of what happens in Clone Cadets. Everybody graduates, and they go off to their mission, and they're all going up the bridge to go on to their mission, their next missions, or join their garrisons, right? So here they are again in this image, and here they are marching down in the back. You see that there?
Yeah.
So
it's a homecoming.
Yeah, it's almost like, well, just turn right back around and jump off if you watch those episodes in a row, because we are doing these episodes in order that they came out season by season, and not actually in order. So let's move it along. So here we see new outfits for both Echo and Fives. They've been in the 501st for a while, and they have some pretty snazzy outfits, don't you think?
Yeah, and they got released like this in a battle pack, from what I remember.
Sure did, yeah. And that graphic on Echo's leg is really cool.
And they actually Hasbro did a nice job incorporating that into the figure when they made it.
Heck yeah, they did. Yep. Man, yeah, those were some great figures. And here we see, if you look in the background, and this is the actual bridge that Obi-Wan was walking on in Attack of the Clones with Lama Su and the other Kaminoan that I can't remember. I still can't remember her name. Is it Tanwi? Tanwi?
Tanway.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Good.
Elias remembered right away. Last week I was like, Elias would know, and sure enough, we're watching it together because he hadn't seen our episode yet. And as he's watching it, he's like, Tanway.
Yeah. Of course.
Right away.
Of course. Yeah, I knew it was in there somewhere, all the names that we spout out, it's hilarious,
I know.
It's funny. You try to remember all the different names and whatnot, but they're basically reminiscing.
So
yeah, I know. They're reminiscing on the bridge here, and they run into, here they are, they're running into the Clone Cadets again, right? And we saw them in season 2, right? A while back. Yep. And this is going to lead us actually.
I like that so many assets get reused in the show.
I know, right? Yeah, I have a really cool one coming up, but I won't talk about it just yet, where they reused an asset. And they do it all the time because just the need for, to save time and money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It works. But, it was funny. Like, there's a video on YouTube that I ended up putting a comment in. It was like, what's better, Clone Wars or Rebels? And I was like, well, it's not really fair. Budgets. And they're like, well, it's the writing. But, when it comes down to it, your budget affects your writing. Like, the cool thing about Clone Wars having the big budget that it had was that you got this enormous secondary cast. As you already have. You get lusher backgrounds. You get just so much more going on when you have that bigger budget. And I think people don't, they try to pinpoint one area why they feel it's not as good. And I don't get that because I like Rebels. I have no problem with it. I enjoy it a great deal. But to compare the two, I feel like the budget affects a great deal.
Yeah. And I had said that last week too. We were talking about a friend of mine. He was like, should I start watching Rebels? And I told him no. I was like, you probably need to watch the Clone Wars first. But I feel like I need to take that back. And maybe you can go and watch Rebels and just be surprised and maybe fill in the dots later on,
Yeah.
I'm the kind of guy, and that's I like everything that's Star Wars. I try to
Yeah.
like it as much as I can. Even if it's not exactly the original trilogy that I watched a gazillion times growing up. I think people these days they're just not watching the newer stuff as much. Don't you think?
There's diehard who are, I guess, just only into the older stuff and are
Mhm.
very close-minded to anything outside of the original trilogy. I feel like there's so many niches, or there's so many different groups of Star Wars fans at this point.
Yeah.
It's so you know, there's the overall love, but then there's like all these little smaller, fan circles that are, have their own tastes and their own feel for what they like out of the Star Wars, what they don't like, you hear often, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I hear you. Yeah, and we have our Clone Wars fans too, don't we? The
Thankfully,
people.
yeah, there's a big Clone Wars contingent for sure. I'm seeing, they're
Yeah.
pretty diehard. I'm
I
starting to
think,
find them now on YouTube.
yeah, it's a
I
massive
think they're
show.
young. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
For sure. Well, let's get back into it, shall we?
Mhm.
That's great. I love talking about those types those types of things. So this is going to lead us into our first custom. I've shared these before. These are the clone cadets, right? And I would love to make the older cadet at some point, but I just haven't got around to him quite yet. It seems to be a pretty basic outfit, don't you think?
Yeah, it doesn't look too tough.
Yeah. And let's see here. All right, there they are. These are my clone cadets. You've also done this as well, and you've made head sculpts and whatnot. I just basically grinded the Boba Fett hair off, and what I did is I just applied a little fix-it to each of the cadets, and just made their different hairstyles and gave their heads a repaint. So basically, um, that's how you can do that. That's an awesome Boba Fett from that awesome pack that we had. And then we move down the hallway again, and we run into 99, and he asks about Heavy, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he
Yeah,
shows off the medal.
yeah. And we'll talk about your custom that you talked about last week, and you have for us a awesome custom of him, don't you?
Yeah, I did him pretty early off. I mean, I think I could probably tell you when he was made. Um, 2014. So I made him almost 3 years ago. Um, but after I saw him in the episode, I knew I wanted to have him in the collection, and so I tried to get him with rerun. And basically, what I did was um, I made that medal, and I made it so. Let's see. I gotta find out where it is. It's getting kind of blocked. All right, so here's the metal picture, and
Uh-huh.
there's a magnet on the end of his hand, and I basically made it so he could hold thermal detonators. I put a magnet inside the thermal detonators because I was kind of concerned about how am I gonna hold all those thermal detonators in the backpack. So I put one very large magnet that you can kind of see there. The metal holds it, and then it holds all those thermal detonators. They'll cling to it, so I don't have to worry about if he falls over, all of them rolling away. They all kind of clip right in there and hold into the backpack magnetically.
That's great.
And that's just a good way to like manage something like that. And then because they have the magnets on the inside, he'll hold a thermal detonator in his hand on the magnet on his hand.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And how did you? Where did you get those magnets?
I think I ended up going halvesies with another customizer.
Uh,
He found some on eBay, and he just ordered them, and I sent him like half the money for on PayPal. But you could get a lot of these. I think they go by rare earth magnets, but you could grab them all online, and you'd be able to see them from there.
Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's
No
such a
problem.
Custom.
And if you want the recipe, I gave that in our last week's episode.
Mhm.
So if you want to know how to build one and just see how it was done, I would watch last week's episode. This one I said I just tell about the magnets and how I manage the accessories. But last week I did the full recipe for the figure itself.
Nice. Very good. So he finds out that there's a war coming, basically, to get back to the episode here, and he's like, "What can I do?" he's ready for battle right away.
Yeah, he doesn't think twice. I think that's what's so great about him.
Mm-hmm.
No fear. He doesn't feel sorry for himself ever. I don't, when people try to give him a hard time, he even like, well, I've never been tested. That's not even fair to compare me to you guys, or
Right.
I like that he defended himself. I like that he had some spunk and he had the heart, and he was tender too. I mean, he was really good with the other clones. He was like a coach, or like a head coach, or he gave him tips, and yeah,
Yep.
I was a big fan.
I hear you. Well, we get Grievous here, and it looks like he has TX-20, only TX-20 has red eyes, or it could be somebody else, but he basically is leading the space battle. And look at all of those Jedi cruisers, man. How could they even stand up to that? There's so many out there, you know what I'm saying? Defending Camino, but they find their way through. And here we see Yularen leading the.
I actually have a custom of that clone officer that's behind him. That was made by Wraith 9.
Awesome.
But
you have a picture?
I could actually. I do. It's on the blog. I don't have it. I could pull it up really fast. Just we could talk about what you were going to talk about, and then as you talk about that, I'll find the picture because I know.
Okay.
I know what page it's on.
Okay. Very good. So here we have Yularen, and he's leading the battle. And what do we see? We have a lot of clone troopers that are also officers, along with the sanctioned officers, right? The people who are hired by the Republic, who often lead the space battles, lead the Jedi Star Cruisers, and they have their assistants, their staff that's along with them, and that sometimes is made up of clone troopers. And here we see the clone officer. They actually have that headgear that that Jango Fett had in Attack of the Clones, which is really cool. But he's wearing like a gray type of outfit. Very, very cool. And what do you think? Did you find it?
Yeah, I did actually. So it was made by a customizer called Wraith 9. He's done a lot. I have a lot of clone customs that were made by this artist. He comes out of the UK. I would say he puts out some of the best Clone Wars, clone customs, clone trooper customs.
Yes, he does.
Very well known for that. And yeah, he ended up making this one for me. And yeah, it's sitting over there on the clone shelf with a bunch of the rest.
Yeah, it was.
So that's a little shout out.
Yeah, a little shout out to our boy Wraith 9 across the pond. Thanks for sharing that. That is so cool. Yeah, he was definitely an influence for me too. Just in fandom alone, it's great to see people that like the Clone Wars as much as you.
Oh yeah, I would say like he definitely probably made just as many Clone Wars customs as we have. I would say, him and at this point, the Real March 4th. I would say they're probably two of the other most like prolific Clone Wars customizers that are constantly at it and constantly making new things.
That is so cool. That is so cool. And we will move on here. Thanks for sharing that again. And here we're talking about the war. Basically, this is their war room. Very, very Kaminoan, right?
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out what's going on, what the aim is here, because it's too easy, right? And Obi-Wan says something's up. He's like, something is going on. So where does Anakin go? This is the best, description of what Anakin likes to do, right away he jumps in his starfighter and he goes out into space, right?
Yeah, he was like, I'd rather be up here than in a command center.
Yeah, and of course he has his wingman with him, and that's Broadside. It's an awesome pilot, and this is going to lead us into our next custom, and I've shared him before. What I did was I took a matchstick so I could remove the helmet, make the helmet removable. And if you look at those graphics on his helmet, those are actually stickers that I printed. My day job, I work in the sign industry, so I printed some little symbols on his helmet and just basically stuck them on there. Because as you know, they can get super small. I think they're like 3/16 in diameter. It's so teeny, so teeny.
Yeah, way better to do it as a sticker than as a painter.
Yeah, and I can do it too as a painter, but it's just sometimes
it's not fun.
It's just so, yeah, it's so darn small, right? So this is basically Anakin's wingman. You hear him up there, and he can talk openly with Anakin, so it seems, right? And that's where we got that conversation where he's like, "Good to have you up here again," and he's like, "I'd rather be up here."
I think the troopers really had a lot of respect for Anakin as a leader and as a general.
Yeah.
He had one of the better relationships, I think, with the clone army compared to other Jedi.
Yeah, for sure. And he's out there just shooting everything down, right? And all the debris is starting to fall into the water. And this is what keys Obi-Wan into the idea that something else might be going on. And we go down underwater and we find out that we find this ship, the Trident, which I really wish they would make.
That was a cool ship.
Check that out. That's such a cool image. I wouldn't mind making one of these myself. I feel like they added another aspect to that droid spike thing. What was that?
Oh yeah, the one that goes into the ships, kind of.
Yeah, and it kind of
like and then opens it up so they can hop in.
Yeah, it was also the Smasher.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's kind of a hybrid of all of them, But
yep,
I thought it would be great if they made this thing. It's a little bit bigger than I think they could actually make. It's pretty huge.
It was almost as big as that Octafara droid they made.
Yeah, or bigger because
even bigger.
In the theatrical release, you actually see this thing grab Jabba's sail barge, right, with no problem.
Yep.
So it's got to be pretty huge, right?
Yeah.
I would love for them to make that. And who is aboard this ship? Ventress herself. And what was cool about this was she was actually wearing her cloak.
Yeah. It was even cooler. There was content in this episode that they actually had to remove before airing it. And it was when I think, is it Clone Commander Fox or who is it that?
It's cold. I got that coming up. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
We'll talk about it. But this is going to lead us into another custom that I had, even though I don't have her skirt on, because she eventually loses that as well, her lower skirt. I thought that I would add a hood and a cape to her, as well as more articulation. But it's totally awesome. This cape that I thought I would put on her. It's a shame she didn't wear it through the whole episode. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she wore it a lot in that one episode with Luminar and Dooley, though, didn't she?
No, I don't think we ever really see her with it again until, what is that episode from? With
the one with Anakin and
with Slick, yeah, with Slick.
Yeah, that's on Christophsis, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, it's this one right here. It's Hidden Enemy.
Yeah.
Oh boy, something's weird tonight. But
that was on Christophsis, though, wasn't it? That episode.
It was. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
But I just thought it'd be cool to add like a little hood and a cape, and you could do it other ways too. That hood is that classic Power of the Force 2 Jedi Luke hood, and I just squeezed it together a little bit and cut it off so that you could apply it to her head and take it off also, you know, so she had kind of a hood down kind of a look too.
Yep.
You could also use like Barris, All Free. You could use her elements. She has kind of a plastic hood that you could put over a cloth cape. There's always all kinds of different things you could do to add capes and whatnot. But
I find t-shirt material works really well.
Yeah, you said that. You said that once.
Hangs very nicely. Yeah, just in case someone didn't, watch the episode where I said it, and I figured to repeat it. But
very cool.
T-shirt material hangs well. It's nice and heavy. It clings to the figure nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Highly recommend using that.
Very cool.
Everybody has old T-shirts laying around the house. They don't want to, they can't wear anymore because there's holes in the pits or stains or who knows what. So
yeah,
throw it into your customizing pile.
For sure. And here we see the aqua droids, right?
Yeah, and they were beautiful.
Yeah, this is one of the coolest droids I think Hasbro made, and it's telling how far they've actually fallen a little bit, because they actually had
anything like this for a long time.
Yeah, they had ball joints in the shoulder and in this portion right here that I'm pointing there, and you just look at that
fold. I mean, it was beautiful.
Yeah, it's like
the head would sink in, it like transformed.
Yeah, how on earth could they make something like that and then say that it's too expensive to cost out, super articulated figures anymore?
Yeah,
something's amiss, right?
Oh yeah, well, when you see everybody else doing it for cheaper, like Game of Thrones, and you have even the reaction figures, I think, like the Funko, those are starting to have. Yeah, some. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. The Elite figures have the articulation. Some of the corny, like Disney movie stuff, like there's plenty of things that offer articulation. Ninja Turtles do it for cheap. I mean, I don't know why only Star Wars Hasbro is having this problem, because they're the same company. So it's we know when we're being intentionally misled.
For sure. Yeah, I agree with that totally. So here we see Obi-Wan getting away from the aqua droids, and he catches a ride on one of those air whales. That's a concept that has been in Star Wars since the beginning of time, and they finally put it within the Attack of the Clones movie and also into the Clone Wars. So I guess they decided to add it to this episode, and he jumps on the back of that thing at least twice in this episode. And here we see the Trident droids again. And
I saw a customizer actually made that beast.
Yes.
I think it was like Board 6 Customs or...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so many cool customizers out there, and I really appreciate all the people that work so hard on customs. And
oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
I just saw, did you see Eric Berry's Rebel Captain Rex ATTE? That was so cool.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of different places you can go to check out just all kinds of different customs and all the different things going on in the custom world. If you're just getting into it, or collecting sites mostly are the best places to find it, but you can also find them on Facebook where I come from. I like to be on Facebook, and I often go to some of those.
I would say most of the posting these days takes place more on Facebook than it does in the forums. The forums that were very popular maybe like a couple of years ago, but I would say in the last year or two, they're not as active, unless it's someone like you or me that's what we were used to doing, and we've been doing it for a long time. All the newer guys, though, they're really showing their stuff up on Facebook.
Yeah.
And Instagram.
For sure. So here we have Havoc again, and he apparently is either the leader of the 501st, or, well, we know Anakin is, but maybe he's a part of it, or maybe he comes to them and basically says, gives them an important mission, and this is going to lead into my next custom, which is Havoc. And basically I gave him a dirty paint job. We were talking last week about whether or not to weather the character, right?
Yeah.
Some people like them weathered, some people like them nice and clean so they could fit right up next to
Hasbro.
the Hasbro stuff, right? So this is kind of a more weathered look. And I don't have a picture of it right now, but that helmet actually comes off. I did remove one helmet for it. And here we see another one. I'm also going to show Hammer. And this is Hammer right here, Arc Trooper Hammer. And I believe that battle pack that we originally got was supposed to be Hammer. But they really didn't get his deco right, the dots and whatnot on his helmet.
Yeah.
So here's Hammer. This is the first time you're actually seeing this guy. Pretty cool. And I actually applied that.
I like it with the dots.
Yeah, I applied those the badge, and that's actually uplifted from the chest plate. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I gave him a removable helmet also, and his rangefinder comes down and everything. So they get into the heat of battle basically, and these aqua droids, invade Camino, and this is a weird image, or kind of a creepy image, don't you think? When you see these little tubes, there's actually clones in there, so they're all breaking.
Oh yeah, this was like, that was really violent when you're thinking about it. I mean,
yeah.
And it was like an epic destruction. It was bad.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine the cleanup on that. It would have to be awful.
Oh yeah, a lot of dead bodies.
Yeah, for sure. Just a weird image, but really interesting too, because it's all crashing down and it comes right at you. Would be really good as a 3D.
It's a real tragedy.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. It's terrible. And here's Havoc, and I believe that's Blitz back there too. And we see them in the heat of battle, and 99 jumps in, and he's basically like, "Get out of here! This is not a place for you." He's just trying to protect him because he shouldn't be there, right? He's not meant to be in the battle like that, and he just doesn't care. He's just trying to lift him up, but too bad he gets shot in the face.
Yeah.
And check this out. Who is that guy from the Coronet? Some of the troopers, they're wearing that same type of helmet back there.
Is that Sinks or Scythe or I forget his name?
Yeah, I forget his name too. And here we see Obi-Wan and Anakin, and they're basically going to split up. Why? Because Grievous can't ever meet up with Anakin. So Obi-Wan basically says, "Why don't you
get
go?"
Ventress?
Yeah, you go get Ventress. I'll take Grievous on, and the battle ensues, right? And here's that part you were talking about. And you can go ahead and explain that a little bit if you want.
I guess they considered it was too violent for TV.
Yeah.
And it never made it to the episode. So I think first time I saw it was on YouTube. It was like Clone Wars cutscene or something like that. But if you watch on the discs that you were able to purchase in stores, the scene is still there.
Yeah, and on Netflix, I believe the alternate scenes are the only thing that you can see on Netflix. This scene is actually from Netflix. I screen capped this from Netflix, and this is the best death I think I've ever seen, and so strange too. You know what I'm saying? Because we know what happens next. She goes in and she takes this clone, and she basically does the force choke, lifting him up, and then she goes and she kisses him as he falls off her blade.
And that came off as so sincere.
Oh man, and it was just like, wow, that is the craziest, most exciting thing I think I've ever seen. Oh, I loved it. I thought it was great. It was awful, but great. And Shakti actually gets some action too up in here. I feel like we hadn't seen her since the micro series. I don't know if anybody had followed the micro series, but she played a big role in the micro series, and she had the same type of moves in this, you know, where she's throwing things at them, where she's pushing them with the force. She had a lot of great moves right here, defending the basically the war room or whatever against the Aqua droids. So the battle continues to ensue, and we run into 99, of course, and they find some clone cadets that got separated from their group, or maybe they got their leader got killed, and they help them defend against the droids. And they're actually coming out of their hibernation chambers, right?
Yeah.
And they cut them down, and what happens during this time is unfortunate. 99 gets killed, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's so very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
And we continue to see Obi-Wan and Anakin fighting both Grievous and Ventress back and forth, and just an amazing amount of time passes, and it's just packed full of exciting scenes, right? You still there?
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Okay, very cool. So we get down to the end here, and we see Anakin, and this is probably the coolest Anakin I think there is. You know, he's like, I'm just going to let them execute you right now.
Yeah, because she said something about, is this where, I bet you think this is where I surrender. And he's like, actually, I was planning on having the clones execute you right here, right now.
He's so dang cool in this, you know.
Yeah.
Every aspect of Anakin is portrayed in this episode. You know, you see him up in space, you see him doing Jedi heroics, and you see him being slightly cruel, right? He's like, I'm gonna kill you right now. But yeah. she gets away, unfortunately. So, and there's our good buddy 99. So very sad.
It is.
It is.
I'm
really
glad
sad.
I made him.
Yeah, he was the heart.
Really
yeah.
If all the troopers were like him, they would have won the war a lot faster.
Yeah, yeah. He had so much going for him, even though he was kind of a reject. You know, he was Quasimodo basically. But with a heart,
no fear, all heart. And,
yeah.
You know.
Indeed. So here we are at the end of the episode, and what happens? We get 2 new ARC troopers, Echo and Fives, right?
Yep.
And that is the episode. So thanks for joining us. When I'm not here, you can find me on Facebook at Peak Obi-Wan Custom Creations, or you can find me on Clone Wars Custom Action Figures. I'm also on Instagram at Peak Obi-Wan Custom Figures. And of course, you can find us on YouTube. Where can we find you when you're not here?
Probably the best place to find me would be the Customs for the Kid blog. Then from there, you could check us on Facebook. Let's see, YouTube, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Google+, Pinterest. Basically everything you need to know is there. Yeah, www.customsforthekid.blogspot.com.
Very cool.
And then next week Evil Plans?
Next week is not Evil Plans. I believe it is Supply Lines.
Oh yeah, it is. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
That's one with Mace Windu, Champ Syndulla, and I'm Gonna Die.
Yes. Yeah. So we will be talking about that next week. Jar Jar centric episode. Your favorite Sith Lord, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh boy. Well, thanks again, folks. We really appreciate all your comments. It's just awesome talking about Clone Wars again and just getting people excited about Such an amazing show. So we'll see you next time. This is episode 36. Talk to you later.
May the force be with you.